so does that make sense why leverage amplifies
it
returns?
makes total sense. The numbers show it.
And so, this is another objection I get. Like, Jimmy, real estate only goes up 5%. The SPX, you can pretty much since 1957 will say it'll go up 10%. And I'm like, I agree. Like, I agree with you. The SPX the stock market goes up 10% a year and real estate only goes up 5%. So then why do we have all these gurus and all these courses and all these people trying to get into real estate? It's because you can use leverage. You can't, that's also something I learned from 401 Chaos, is you can't use leverage to invest in the stock market.
Sure.
People did that in the 1920s and we had the Great Depression because of it.
Gotcha.
And then, another objection people give is like, stock market safe, real estate not. And then if that's true, how come I can take my stock portfolio, go to the banker? Can you give me a loan off this, Mr. Banker? And now I get it that there's margin loans, or I forget what they're called. I get that you can get a line of credit off your stock portfolio, but a bank will not lend you off your 401k. They'll lend you off your liquid stocks.
Sure.
But if a 401k is so safe, why will a bank not lend on it? Now, if I have a piece of property, banks lend on that all day long, right?
Yeah. No, exactly. So, Jimmy, let's say somebody is like, okay, I'm convinced like the 4% rule through traditional retirement accounts, it's impossible for me. Real estate makes sense for me, but I don't have $600,000 to deploy. How do they go from there?
Well, do you have 2 a year? So 2 a year would be, and so 140,000, let's do those numbers real quick. $140,000 house times 20, that's $28,000 times 2. I'd say, hey, do you have $56K a year to invest? And then
it's a lot easier.
Yeah. So I would say do 2 of those a year for 10 years.
Okay.
If you're not sure you can get $56K a year, then we would look into alternative strategies like the BRRRR strategy.
Okay.
Where you really don't have any down payment, or it's a 10% down payment. At that point, you're investing $30,000 a year.
And then you can cycle it.
Yeah. And then think about it. Go back to that episode before. If you have a cash machine and you're making over $200K a year, most of those people can afford a $60,000 a year investment.
Sure.
If you can't, you need to flip and wholesale. You should not be buying long-term assets at that point.
You
shouldn't probably be building up a rental portfolio.
Right. Nice.
And so that's what I mean when I say the 4% rule is hard. Like, there's a reason it takes 30 years. If you're not using tax advantages and leverage other people's money, it's going to be a grind.
Yeah. But it seems like, based on what you just broke down, your strategy here, I mean, you are blowing the 4% rule out of the water.
We're crushing it with a third of the capital and a third amount of the time.
That's amazing.
And so I think people see the Google headlines or the Instagram headlines that real estate's the greatest wealth producer on earth. And this is the reason why. Yeah. It's really because leverage amplifies returns.
Right. But you have to do it right. You have, like, to your point.
Yeah. It's not like you borrow money and then you become wealthy.
Right.
You have to responsibly use debt in the right assets.
Right. And manage it correctly.
Yeah.
Find the right properties.
And then once again, people in our program don't have the time to do that. So that's why they trust our team to find it, fix it, find the tenant, and then manage it for the long term. Because you don't get wealthy doing real estate with just one house.
Right.
You got to get to the point where you rinse and repeat.
Yeah.
Like, the people who have done best in our program and become the wealthiest are the people who are able to buy the houses fastest, easiest, and not necessarily cheapest. I recommend they buy, the better quality assets.
Yeah.
But the people who've been able to rinse and repeat have had the greatest success. So if you like what you heard today and you want to learn more, sign up for a discovery call with one of the Vreeland Capital success coaches at jimmyvreeland.com.